Hey, dude, this dog like stinks, man. Okay, groomer, do something about it, man.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey, all you pet stylists. You found the GroomPod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susie, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anyone who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. One of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and co-star of the show, Miss Barbara Bird. But Barbara Bird is on her way to South Carolina right now as we speak. Okay, well, almost. She's packing up the truck and getting ready to move. So we have a special guest today, and I'm so excited to present him. It's Randy Lowe from Precision Sharp. He is a master sharpener, and he is my sharpener, and he's a personal friend. So welcome to the show, Randy.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to episode 415 of the GroomPod, recorded on June 11th, 2024 in Snohomish, Washington and Mount Wolf, Pennsylvania. This podcast is brought to you by our kind sponsors, Best Shot, Show Season, Precision Sharp, Groomore, and Stasco. And you guys, if you'd like to support the show or help Barbara get across the country, you can do so at our website, thegroompod.com, and use the donation button that says Help Barbara Here. Or if you'd like to support the show itself, you can do so at Patreon, and you just find it by searching GroomPod. This week's What's New, which is non-existent, is brought to you by Groomore Software. If you haven't found Groomore, you're missing out. Groomore is an all-in-one software solution for your grooming business. Whether you are a solo mobile groomer or manage several shops, Groomore has everything you need. 24-hour online booking and forms, routing, credit card processing, reminders, Google Calendar and QuickBooks integration, and so much more. And the best customer service anywhere. Shop, mobile, or house call, Groomore has you covered. And they're giving us a free month. Just enter GroomPod22 in the coupon code. What you don't know about me, Randy, is I like to keep my things as long as I possibly can. So I've been driving a 2006 Ford Explorer and a 1998 Ford Exploder. They used to call them Exploders. Ford Explorer as my tow vehicle. And I have chewed them up, spit them out, ridden them hard, put away wet, everything you can possibly think of. I work these vehicles hard. Well, a week and a half ago, I bought a new truck. Well, it's not new. It's new to me because I'm cheap. So I got this truck, and it was $5,000 dropped in price in 30 days. So we knew something was wrong with it, but we didn't know what was wrong with it.
Okay.
We got a code on the way home from the dealer's lot, which we figured that was going to happen. We fixed that with an oil change and some seafoam. But 4 days later, after working it hard, it overheated on me and I ended up stuck on the side of the road. So I have spent 4 days bonding, togetherness, close days with my husband, tearing apart the cooling system on my brand new truck. And I'm happy to say it's fixed. And are you ready for this? The $5,000 dropped vehicle, which was already a reasonably priced vehicle, it cost us $97 to fix.
That's beautiful.
If you would have done it in a shop, 3 days, a lot of arguing, swear words, that kind of stuff, that's expensive. But because we did it ourselves, I've got a badass F-150 with a Coyote 5-liter motor all set up to tow, and it's running great, knock on wood. I've worked in it 2 more days now, no overheat, so I'm feeling pretty confident. Oh, it's so nice because Barbara worried so much about me and my stupid old vehicles and my crappy 2006 trailer. But the trailer was built for me. It's not a looker, but it's all like my height, and I love it. And my people all know. They've all been with me pretty much the whole time. I just kept my clients and wait for them to get new dogs. So everybody accepts my funny looking trailer. But they're all excited about my new rig. So anyway, I just wanted to fill you guys in because last week I was very happy about getting it. And then
Problems.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're really here to talk to you, Randy. So I'm going to stop this jibber jabber and we're going to do another advertisement before we get started. And we'll start with our first appointment right after that. Did you know that Stasco has come out with a couple of new products? First, there is the Stasco Oatmeal Protein Conditioner. This conditioner provides exceptional body and manageability and super shiny finishes. And it has a wonderful apple scent that I love. Great in the recirculator, too. And they have a new matching protein conditioning spray, dematting, anti-static conditioning, and finishing all in one, just like the original Stasco spray, but with that delicious apple fragrance. Look for these new products at trade shows and your favorite distributors like Cascade Grooming Supplies. We want to welcome Randy and Cheryl Lowe from Precision Sharp and invite you to check out their website where you can see their newest precise cut shear called Lynx. It's a patented design featuring a thumb ring that slides the length of the handle for perfect ergonomic placement of your thumb. Slide it and lock it into position to get your best groom on. Check it out at precisionsharp.com. Ready, groomers? Here comes our first appointment. Now that we got all of that business over with, which we have to do all the time, that business, it's so important. It's why we're here, though. We're happy to have all of our sponsors, and Randy is one of our sponsors. So how did you ever become interested in sharpening? I know you were a machinist to start with.
Yeah, I was on an apprenticeship for 4 years, a machinist apprenticeship. And then when that was complete, I went to Caterpillar Tractor. That was like a 5-year work cycle because then I got laid off there. And then a friend of mine got me started at a sporting goods store for a couple of years. And then I went back to Caterpillar, but then they closed the plant down.
Oh, no.
So that's in York, PA. And then I ran into a friend of mine from high school. He had a machine shop and he was sharpening beauty shears on the side. So I needed something to do. Cheryl thought it was a great idea. 1990, I paid this guy $3,000 and he trained me. He gave me some scissors to sell and he showed me how to walk into salons, which I hated. I don't do it to this day. I hated it. I like to be in my personal workshop doing work. Mail comes in the door, or I pick it up at a trade show and bring it home and sharpen it and send it back. So he taught me the stuff, and that was in 1991. So $3,000, and 2 months later, I had all that paid off already. So I knew you could make some money doing this. If in 2 months I did $3,000, that in 1991 that was pretty big, I thought.
That's big money, definitely.
So that got me started once I learned about all the beauty shows. We researched that. I started doing beauty trade shows. Probably for at least 8 years, I did all the major beauty shows: New York Hair Show, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami. But you know what? I'd hand out thousands of mailer packs to get them to send their shears in for sharpening. I don't think I ever got one, not even one.
Wow.
But I didn't like going out. I hated that. Plus, honestly, they're not my same mentality or something. That's all I can say.
I wondered.
It got me started on doing barbershops, the beauty industry. So then all the barbers wanted their clipper blade sharpened. So then I had to figure that out. And once I got that figured out, then that got me started on stopping at grooming shops. So that started and worked okay. And that got me doing Hershey Show. That was my first show ever.
That's a big one to start at. Geez. But you had been doing the beauty shows, so you were used to that.
That's correct. When I started at the Hershey Lodge, the whole convention room, that was not even there. And it was only back where they have the dances and stuff back that hallway. That was the extent of the trade show. And we were in the hallway with a 4 foot table and I think 14 or 17 scissors or something. The booth back then was $400. So we said, man, if we pay this off, make a little money, we'll be doing okay. We found something new. So we like tripled that.
So you went in there and you said, the groomers are my people. And I can see that we're your people, definitely.
They are absolutely just way more friendly, just no disputing it. Plus, the thing with groomers, as you know, they have lots of clipper blades and lots of scissors. Most established groomers, they're collectors and hoarders, I guess. Blades and scissors and clippers, ones that have been business in for a long time have 30 of everything.
Oh, I
They
totally
do.
get that. I am a person who has a backup of everything. I have two tow vehicles. That's how anal I am about that. And we send stuff out too.
That's exactly right. So that's how my business pretty much evolved down there. For when I first got serious about the grooming stuff, I would go out, I think on Tuesday, pick stuff up and then drop it off the following Tuesday. And I made a route by looking through phone books. I think that's how I found back then there were phone books and no phone and no Gmail and all that stuff. So at one point, we even sent postcards out for a little while telling people why I was coming and stuff.
That's neat.
But then at a certain point, Cheryl took over that route. She lost her job. So she was doing the route, and I would stay home and sharpen. And that, yeah, like that was around 1995 or something like that.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, for in 3 years, she was out there until we had our daughter Samantha, which a lot of you guys know. Sam grew up with Sophie Rowe. Those two would play under the table and run around at the show and have a grand old time.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway,
So, for those of you who don't know, and I can't imagine there's anybody who hasn't at least seen you at a table at a trade show, if they've been to a trade show, Cheryl is the woman behind the man that sharpens the stuff. She keeps everything going, and I love her, and she's like lurking around in the background there here today, this morning.
say hi.
There she is. I know there's probably not a groomer out there who hasn't wished that their partner, husband, wife, or otherwise, would take up sharpening so they could get their stuff sharpened at their house. How do people learn how to sharpen? Do you have to get an apprenticeship? Is there a big school? Is there any way to actually learn?
There totally is. It's not an official thing. I mean, I've trained probably 15 guys. Honestly, I'm not a good teacher. I don't want to do it, truthfully. I just don't. It interferes with my schedule in the shop, and it's one of those things I worry about till it's over. So I'm not comfortable with it. On Facebook, there's lots of groups that sharpeners belong to. You can put a Facebook group called Sharpeners Chat. You can sign up for that. Another one is Sharpeners Union, Sharpeners Resources Group. That's three. There's probably 20, 30 guys in the US that train. Another way is Wolf, WOLF Industries. I believe that's in South Carolina. Once I learned how to do a little bit, then I started going to sharpeners conventions. And there's probably 3 or 4 of those throughout the year. The Wolf Industries is putting one on in Reno, Nevada, I think the end of October. And if you give them a call, just tell them that you want to learn how to sharpen and ask them where the convention is. Even before you start to learn to sharpen, it would be good to go maybe just to talk to guys because everybody that goes to that show will be a sharpener already. And honestly, it's not cheap to get into sharpening.
I was going to ask, what do you think the buy-in is at this point? Just like to get the basics.
Well, you can get it's like a bench grinder style machine. You can buy a brand new one for in the neighborhood of $800. That is okay for some types of scissors, bevel edge shears in particular. That works okay for, but there's a lot more to sharpening a shear than just grinding metal away. And the big thing is the bow or the set of the shear or the blade. That's the big deal that most guys to this day know nothing about. If they don't know how to rebend the shear, forget about it. They're grinding metal. It may work, it may last for a few days, but the tips still, they're not going to work, you know? It's just, you have to rebow the blades sometimes. So, okay, that's $800. That's for basic. Then you get into a flat hone, which is a type of machine that rotates horizontally. You can put usually 6 inch, a piece of metal that is attached by a magnet. Then you put your, let's just call it sandpaper, on that metal plate. So you can change the abrasive, meaning real coarse to real fine, or a polishing pad or whatever you want to put on there. So they go $2,500 on up for those guys. Then you do training with that. I mean, I know a guy in California, he charges like $8,000 with a machine and I think 3 days of training. He's literally the one. You can look him up, Jason, Jason, Pintel, Pindel, and his site is Sun Gold Group, SUNGOLD GROUP. He's the master of the industry. He still trains. He's like 80 some years old. He's also a barber. So he knows exactly what he's doing. So you have two machines for scissors. Then you get into clipper blade machines. Basic price, $1,800 on up to 7,000. The nicest one out there is Mitch from The Shop, is THESHOP, and he's got a fully automatic machine. Totally awesome. And that's at least 7 grand.
So you're thinking maybe ten to $20,000 to get a really decent setup, and that doesn't include your time to learn or the skill that you're going to develop.
That's correct. There are used pieces of equipment out there. I've searched sharpening machines on Facebook Marketplace and got one actually.
Cool.
But in these sharpeners groups and chats, once they let you into the group, you got to tell them that you're not yet a sharpener. And then somebody's going to make a suggestion who you should go sharpen with or whatever. They'll give you more information. But you can buy used equipment to cut down on that cost, and you learn as you go. The big thing is maybe start out with inexpensive scissors and learn to do them correctly. Uh, that doesn't mean just watching a
Right.
video. You know, you got to go for training somewhere or to a sharpener's convention somewhere to get some practical, hands-on, touchy-feely knowledge.
This leads me to my next question. I always recommend other groomers to send their stuff to you, but what are some of the questions that we can ask a sharpener when we're looking for one, say locally? What kind of questions should we ask them?
Number one, you could ask them what type of machine they're using. A twice as sharp is the less expensive machine. And then if they say that's what they use all the time, let me clarify one thing. There are guys out there who know how to use a twice as sharp. It is a very good machine, but best for bevel edge shears, best for bevel edge. at least until you have several years using that type of machine. So you start out giving them your general purpose workhorse type scissors. You pay attention what the edge looks like before you give it to them. Look at the edge. When you get it back, if it's an eighth of an inch longer, we got a problem because they ground the angle incorrectly and they took a lot of metal away. Also pay attention to the tips. What do the tips look like when you give it to them? Because the biggest problem is when they're sharpening and they pull the scissor across the wheel, they always put too much pressure on the tip. So the tip gets more narrow, more fast. You got to look at how much metal they're taking away.
Maybe take a picture of your shears before and after, like one with them closed and one with them open, and then do a little comparison.
That would be a great idea. And then if you think he did a fine job that way, then you ask him if he has a flat hone. A flat hone is more for convex style, convex and semi-convex. On a flat hone, you can do all types of scissors. The thing is, like if a scissor is really messed up, and I call it reshaping the edge, you have to change the angle because the edge got real flat, meaning it's like 5 degrees to 15. It's very blunt. Most bevel edge shears 25 to 35 degrees. Most convex are very roughly 40 degrees. But if it becomes too blunt, I have a rough wheel on my twice as sharp to remove some metal to get the angle back closer to the bevel edge 25 to 35. And that saves time. If you try to do it on a flat hone, you burn up lots of sandpaper and it's harder on your flat hone, truthfully. To do scissors, I have 4 different machines. I have a bench grinder twice as sharp style. I have 2 flat hones, one with coarse grit, one with a finer grit. Then I have a flat hone with a serrating wheel on it, because that's the other thing you can ask your sharpener, are they able to reinstall serrated edges? Guys who are more into their skill, they should have researched where to get a serrating wheel. They're not terribly hard to come by, but they're damn expensive. When I first started out in 91, I needed to put serrations on. Nobody had any. So I made the first serrating wheels for flat hones. And I still have some of them to this day that I still use from 1991. It's a diamond plated wheel, but nobody had them back then. The beauty industry had a drum, like a big grinding wheel, like 3 inches wide, and they were $500 back then. And I could never get them to work on my machinery. They were just a pain in the ass. They had to run perfectly true or they would wobble, obviously, and then you couldn't get a good serration. So I made the first diamond plated serrating wheels for flat hones. That's one of my bragging rights.
Do we do a lot of serrated edges in grooming?
See, I am totally different than everybody else. I've been, let's just say, marketing serrated edges or micro serrated from day one. If you don't have a serrating wheel, they can use a coarser grit grind. But you need to hold the hair so it doesn't slide. So all the time, to this day, when I go see sharpening come in from, especially at a show, they say, I just had my guy sharpen these. 2 days later, they're folding the hair. So a lot of sharpeners who sharpen for the beauty industry, they're used to a finer edge, more polished edge. sorry, it doesn't work for the grooming industry.
Okay.
I want a coarser edge, a slightly more noisy edge. When you open and close it, it's a little rougher because that is like a serrated edge. And one thing I want to say about that, when guys finish a shear that have been doing the beauty industry mainly, then they do a grooming shear. They use Japanese water stones, which is fine. They take them apart. They stone the what is called the ride line, where the two blades swipe together. And if you make that too fine, that's part of holding hair in place. It is too polished. The hair slides. Not everybody likes what I do. Nobody likes anything 100%. You know, you buy new clipper blades from what manufacturer. Some people like Oster or whatever brands. They like them better. There's no 100% on satisfying anybody, but I like my scissors slightly more grabby. They will be less sharp, but they will hold the hair better. So there's a trade-off in everything. The sharper the cutting edge, the less durable that edge is, the more grippy, or let's just say noisy it is, the more it will hold the hair. It will be, I call them micro serrated, or you just use a rougher sandpaper or a rougher abrasive. When you go to a full serrated edge, then it would be slightly even more noisy. There's a lot going on in the scissor, really, you know. There's a lot of moving parts you don't even understand. uh,
Okay, so you just mentioned the blades, and there's now so many people producing blades. How different are different manufacturers' clipper blades? Because they seem like they have all the same parts.
yeah, they're all identical, considered A5 or detachable style. There are at least four brands out there that get from the exact same factory with their different name on.
So in that case, is it the same cutting blade and the same tensioner? Are they basically the same blades?
What you want to look at, you know what the socket is.
Uh huh.
The two little ears sticking up on the back. So you walk around at a show, you look at a number 30 blade, say, can I see this blade? You flip it over, you look at the socket, and you will see that the sockets will be identical on some of those blades. And that's how you know it's coming from the same factory.
Oh, that's a great tip right there. Oh, interesting stuff. So there seems to be a lot more variation in quality of scissors versus quality of clipper blades. So how big a difference is there in like those, excuse my language, shitty Chinese scissors that I bought for $1.27
Yeah.
versus like the beautiful scissors that you make?
Here's my biggest hang up on scissors in general. People who never get to a trade show will always have more trouble all their lives with their scissors, especially if they don't have a sharpener close by. But when you get anything from somebody selling scissors, if they don't physically know how to sharpen and repair, 60% of that stuff will have an issue with it from the time you get it. The thinners in particular, every brand, the thinners, I'm telling you, on the top two brands out there that are marketed, they do not cut the last 3/4 of an inch.
I've seen that.
They do not cut. It's called the ride line closest to the tip.
Hmm.
They polish them to make them feel, oh, they're so smooth, they cut like butter. But the more polished, again, the hair folds. So anytime you buy from a booth, one for 42 for 70, three for 99, whatever they are, you know, they were not tested. You might as well just buy them on Amazon or somewhere because you're taking the same exact chance. Everything that I do, no matter who buys it, It's to either test it at a show or test it here because there's major things wrong with all these shears all the time. Everything gets reworked here, you know. That's the way it is. There's several ways of testing, but it used to be Viva Ultra, Viva Ultra. You cannot get them anymore. Now it's the smooth Viva paper towel. It's the most accurate thing out there. So you ladies go, it's hard to find. It's getting harder to find. Uh, you literally hold a towel in your hand, adjust the scissor for tension, and then slightly push down and see if it folds that towel. It is 100% accurate. That's how you can test. Everybody should learn how to test with Viva paper towel. It's truly amazing once you learn how to use it. So anyway, everybody gets stuck all the time, even at shows, because there's, oh, where was it? In Tacoma. You were there. There was like 5 guys sharpening, 17 or 18 places selling scissors. 75% didn't know anything about those scissors, period. Didn't know a damn thing. They couldn't tell you if they worked or not. The other thing is carry Viva all around if you're buying scissors and test that frickin' scissor. Because if the one you're going to buy, you test that thing before you take it away.
One of the neat things that you do that I don't know who else does, maybe Mo, I don't know. You make handmade scissors for me. Like you put them together, you bend them, then you give them to me, and they're like personally stamped with love. And a lot of my scissors you've personally made. That's not common.
As far as I know, I'm the only one that does anything like that. And that's really what got me into the link stuff because I spend a lot of time. I would cut handles off. They want a certain type of blade, certain length of blade, a certain thickness. I'd pull inventory that they liked the shape of the blade, like, but the handles were straight in line and they wanted a smaller thumb that was offset. So then I'd cut handles off old broken scissors and thumb rings and then retig weld it back onto the blades that they wanted to get the combination that they wanted. So that's what I started doing. I'm going to say 2008 or something like that. I bought a little TIG welder and I struggled with it for a long time. I couldn't get that damn thing to work. You know, one day lightning strikes and you figure it out. And that's how it was for me. But it is very time consuming. And now that I have the links, I really don't even want to do that stuff anymore.
Well, you don't have to. Let's
Now,
talk about that. They're super cool.
one thing to go back real quick, I still do a lot of my own bending, handles, and curving blades. So that I'll always do because, like now, I go to some AKC dog shows and my little German scissors and 4.5 inches long. Everybody loves my little curve. It's
Me
like
too.
unbelievable. It's so cute. And they want me to do a bigger curve on the blade on that. So that's my next thing to do.
Show season has a great enzymatic cleaner called Kennel Fresh. And you dilute it with warm water and it smells good, and then it evaporates to be a deodorant. As the Kennel Fresh dries, it's enzymatic, it eats the bacteria and the odor source. So it's really good stuff. You can use it indoors or out.
Find it at your local distributors or showseasongrooming.com.
Before you go to the links, the other thing that you did that was absolutely revolutionary for me was the curved blenders, the curved thinners. You did it right because so many other people, they just don't meet right, they don't cut right. But yours, the sunflower that I have, they're freaking spectacular. How did you come up with that? And is it really hard to get all of those teeth to match up and to curve and to not bite into the other cutting blade and stuff. Wow.
Well, before I did that, it all started in 2009. I was at Intergroom in New Jersey, and somebody said, "Man, oh man, I sure wish you could," because we were talking about my curve stuff, and I never thought about thinners or chunkers back then. And somebody said, "I sure wish you could curve a chunker." Well, that got the ball rolling right there. So I went home and probably broke 20 chunkers till I got one that I didn't break. And that was the start of it. But I mean, I don't know. I got two big boxes full of broken thinners and chunkers out there. It's learning the type of metal that you can bend, how you can't bend most of this without some heat. And you don't want to apply too much heat because that'll make them soft. You don't want to do that. And I even took a batch, probably of 20 to, there's a very good heat treating place several miles from us. And we actually softened the whole batch, technically speaking, in the absence of oxygen. And they heat them in nitrogen. So they softened them, and I bent them. You had to keep each set together, and then meaning the pair together. And then once I bent them, we took them back, and he rehardened them again, and that's how I started doing a lot of them that way. But that was expensive, so then I learned the different method to curve that harder material. The trouble was it was such a bad idea. The first ones I tried were, if you look on the site, it's the model J 7521. It's 7.5 inches long, 21 teeth, 21 wide teeth. So wide teeth do not bend at all, period. So the first ones I bent, the cutting blade would hit the front of the tooth, and it would sound like, I don't know, real, I call it coarse, real harsh sounding. And that's the way they were for a long time. I, you know, so the same year I started bending on our site, it's model JFB 6542, a 6.5 inches 42 tooth thinner. I did those two almost the same time. And the thinners felt way better, because the teeth flex. A real narrow tooth, the teeth flex a lot. I actually stopped trying there for about 6 months because I was so disappointed on how, especially the chunkers were working. But then people kept asking for them, and I just slowly got better at it and got better at it. And that evolved into pretty much getting a type of material that I could bend easier. Believe it or not, when you get a curved shear, most of the time nowadays, they make everything straight and curve it after. So almost to exclusive rule, it's a softer scissor to start with than if you buy a perfectly straight shear, which feels much smoother. So a straight shear you will feel smoother and you'll have less trouble with. But any curved shear or curved thinner or curved chunker, always going to have more trouble with, period. And they will not feel as smooth. I tell people at the booth at a trade show, if you pick up a curved thinner or chunker and it feels super, super smooth, do not buy that. There's too much space between the blades. That thing's going to be folding hair in a day.
Okay, now let's move on to the links, because for me, I don't know, you've probably never looked at my hand. Look at what my hands look like these days. They're just weird looking.
Thin.
Yeah. So
Yeah, thin.
they've got, like, it doesn't, this joint is all fused now. It doesn't even move
Yeah,
anymore.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
I originally was trying to use swivel shears, but it turns out that I cannot control them with my inability to move this joint. I was making divots all over the place, and as much as I love
Yeah.
my evolution shears, I just am not skilled
Hmm.
enough today to use them. And then I kept looking at
Right.
what I do grab. I grab shears that I can flip and that are the thumb and fingers are even instead of offset because
Hmm.
I've lost so much of the length on my thumb.
Right.
When the links came out, I was just blown away at how much more comfortable they are for my fingers, for my weird thumb
Yeah.
joint, and how much easier they are to control. And I feel like now you've given me back the ability to have fancy shears, and I really do love them. So tell us about them.
Oh, a lot of stories involved in the links. So, uh, story number one, if you look at a lynx on somewhere, you'll see circular notches on the back side, the rib or the ridge of the blade.
I wondered about those.
Everybody has seen the scissor with the holes in the blades, right?
Uh huh. Uh huh.
That was my design. So in 2008, I had prototypes made up. The theory with any scissor, the wider the blade, even though they're heavy, they're stronger, so the tips don't push apart as easily, but they're heavy. So we took a Filipino old school, like a Mercedes 88 style, and put circular holes in the blade, 4 or 5, all the way down the length of the blade to get rid of material. So that started the scissor with the holes in the blade right there. I had like 10, 12, 20 made. Judy Cantu Thacker, do you remember her by any chance?
Yeah, we love her.
Yeah, so she put on a seminar for a few years in Texas that I went to, and I sold all 10 pairs that I had there. And our buddy, Mr. Ed Guy, was there. And like 2 months later, he was drilling holes through the blades, which I thought totally screwed the whole blade up. That's how the scissor with the holes got started. Transferring that to the length, we removed material from the back edge to get rid of weight on that blade. So that's took away material to make that blade lighter. Item number two, if you hold it, the thickness of the blade has been thinned down, very thin. So the thickness of the metal before you start making it is thinner to start with. So that's item number two. Item number three, if you look from the pivot area for the from the screw or from the knob to the tip, there's a ridge. It goes all the way to the tip. And that ridge is there for a specific reason. The tips push apart on everything all the time. Your tips go bad because your tips are pushing apart. That ridge gives you the same thickness from the pivot area all the way out to the tip. So your tips do not push apart as easily. Even though they're still going to get dull faster than back further towards the pivot, the tips don't push apart as easily. So that's three things right there. Then we go into the thumb hole itself. We have a line called the Phoenix, and the Phoenix is identical, but just a different shape as the Lynx. The Phoenix are high end, equally the same quality as the Lynx, but the thumb hole on the Phoenix are amazing. They're contoured and very ergo. So we took that thumb hole and made the sliding thumb on the Lynx because that thumb is unbelievable. It is so comfy. And somebody like you who has smaller fingers, you use the black ring inside of it
Yep.
to take up space in both of them. I wish I had some diagrams that we could show sometimes but I'll explain this to you and you can figure out how you're going to do it. So if you look at the thumb as you move it forward and back on the track, it's slightly going downhill towards the tip. You can experiment. I say when you're adjusting that thumb, always do it over a table in case you drop the washers out of there. But you can unscrew that. You can rotate the ring so the high part is towards the tip and the low part is towards the rear to the handle. Some people, it feels better that way. It's dual adjustment on that thumb. So depending on the angle of your thumb going into the hole, that may be more comfortable for you.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I gotta do a video, right?
Yes, you do.
But yeah, but that's another aspect of that thumb. So the other thing is, I don't know if you've ever talked about it, short shank versus long shank. For length of thumb, sometimes you got to go shorter, closer to the tip. But the shorter you go, the less leverage you have. And it's a mechanical fact. The more leverage you have, meaning the further back, the easier it is on your thumb. It is leverage. That is the terminology. So you can move it forward or you can move it back. I tell people to lay their existing scissors down where the knob is or the screw is, line them all up and see about where the position of your thumb is now. And then chances are your thumb is going to be, I believe, a little bit on the longer side, maybe. I don't know, maybe not, but try to get a close average where you're what you're using now, and then experiment. Go a quarter or an eighth inch forward and a quarter of an eighth inch back, and see after using it for a while if it affects your tendons, your muscles, because you've gotten used to a certain style, and your muscles and tendons in your hand are used to a certain position. If you go out of comfort zone, let's call it, you're going to notice it. It's going to hurt. The other thing about the thumb and the adjustment, I'm not a fan of swivel thumbs. I do custom swivels. You can take any scissor and I'll turn it into a swivel, but I really don't like them because to me, you're chasing the thumb around all the time. To me, that's what's happening. And with using the sliding thumb, you can have control, but you can get that into a position where the alignment of your thumb and your wrist and your arm are all straight in line, and your thumb is not getting any side pressure so that you're getting a callus or indentation or something on your thumb. Uh,
They really have improved my scissoring.
yeah, you have comfort without any side pressure. What I tell a lot of people is a lot of times they buy something like a thinner or a chunker because it's the style of blade they want or the number of teeth or something, but their thumb's not right exactly where it's supposed to be. You're stuck with what you got. So so now you with my what do we have? A real wide tooth chunker and the thinning shear.
You've got that
Yeah,
combo
and the
too.
combi. That's the big hit right now. If anybody goes to the website, links, what is it, 7526/12 is the model number, but we call it the combi or combination. It has chunker teeth on it that take out 60% of the hair. And then the last 1 inch is thinning shear teeth that are spaced further apart. That takes out only 40% of the hair. Most standard thinners, I don't care how many teeth, take out very roughly half the hair. the width of the tooth and the width of the space between each tooth are close to equal. That will take out 50%. On the combi, a bigger space between the tooth. You got to go back over it several times. So the theory is you use that as a chunker, a finishing chunker, and then you go back over it. You're almost done with the dog. You see a spot that's too high, sticking up, some fuzzies. Then you use the tip only. You go back over it several times. You brush or comb, look at it, go back over it some more. You keep reducing it down very gradually until you get where you want to be. I designed that about 20 years ago. It just never made it until now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I got to see it at the Tacoma show and also at Atlanta Pet at Groomed. I have to not call it Atlanta Pet Fair. Boy, it's hard.
I know that's hard to do for us old timers.
Okay, guys. Well, we're running out of time here, but I want to make sure that everyone knows where to send their blades and shears. So if you go to precisionsharp.com, you can find all the information about sending your stuff to Randy to get it all fixed. Plus, you can see him at almost every single show out there. Randy and Cheryl will be there, and they'll have Melissa Jepson with them. And who else is hanging out with you?
We have our local girls, Annette and Sue, which are great. They used to work with Frank Rowe. They are local to us, very good.
And you're sponsoring Ethan?
Yes, Ethan's the man.
He's nice.
What do they call that style of grooming? I forget. Contemporary?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know. I have no idea. But he's great. He's a gas.
And there's Lisa McMillan is one of them. Kelsey.
Right. Kelsey. Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, there's several others. I'm brain dead. I'm old.
Well, that Precision Sharp family is growing and it's a great bunch of people. And we're so happy to have you on board. Of course, I'm tickled to death because you're my sharpener, but it's great that I can share you with the rest of the world. And thank you so much for your support. Anything you'd like to tell us about taking care of our stuff?
Oh, not really.
Okay.
Clean it every day. Get a little toothbrush, a couple drops of any kind of oil is better than no kind of oil. Maybe sometime we expand on this and do more clipper blade stuff.
Let's do it.
All righty. Good talking to you, folks.
Thank you, Randy. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure you support our sponsors and happy grooming. We'll see you next week on the GroomPod. Happy journeys, Barbara. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.